we saw Matt, he can save and submit his financial aid application. The dev team got some training on the Forms IO solution. That's what this, oh, how come that won't lock? That's what this graphic is. And the UI UX team did some detailed analysis around institution onboarding, designation, user roles, dashboard, education programs. And we've taken some of that and refined it down for this sprint. Oh, hello, Sid. I see all your minions. Nice. Okay, off to sprint 7 and what we've done. So first, I'll let you know that we had to say goodbye to one of our developers, Sandeep. He got a really good opportunity to work with the Ministry of Health. So we said goodbye to him actually 2 weeks ago on Wednesday. And Caitlin Brownwig had to quickly ramp up and get some new developers on board. So thank you for doing that so quickly. And we said hello to Anne, Guru, and Sumati. So you may see their faces today. Sumati unfortunately can't make this meeting today as she has a prior commitment, but we will make sure to introduce you to her when she's back. Anne, are you on the line?
Yeah, hi Michelle. Hi all.
Hi, Anne. We just downloaded 2 full days of project team onboarding with them, so their brains are pretty full, but they are up to speed and ready to kick off with our sprint planning this afternoon. And Guru, are you there?
Hey, hi team.
Yeah, we have a super smart team, and we're excited to kick off with them. All right, Elise, over to you.
Great, thank you. So I do have Mural up finally. I don't know about you guys, but it's everything seems a little slow this morning. So just a quick review. So this is, as Michelle mentioned, Sprint 7. We were going to focus on finding a solution, doing some research and getting ready for CRA integration, as well as our Equifax integration. And of course, the Equifax integration is for our credit checks. We do credit screenings, which is part of our policy and the federal policy. And then we also planned from a technical perspective to, once we'd made some decisions, to continue to get that infrastructure all set up in the background so that we could keep working on some of our application work and other pieces as well. The UX UI team this sprint was focusing on the institution account and getting locations set up, as well as we kind of threw an extra little bonus in there partway through the sprint to start the work on programs, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit here. And we also decided that we wanted to make sure that we had a really clear understanding, and we're going to share with you today our site map that we've developed to help folks understand how the institution account is going to work. And then we also have some development work as well. So some of the other pieces around what Zoe's been doing inside the institution account. So we'll have Pushan sharing that with us today. So just a little bit of business context. I just want to make sure that everyone's up to speed with some of the business decisions that we've made. And again, this isn't everything. These are just some of the big things that I thought, oh, I better make sure that people know, or kind of assume that people know as we go into the presentation this morning. So when we talk about institution accounts, we have made the decision that every institution account will have one or more locations. So there will be that kind of higher level institution account and then locations underneath it. So as an example, Sprott-Shaw, there may be one particular owner for 4 locations. That particular owner will have an account for Sprott-Shaw and will identify their 4 locations underneath it. So that is something, but if there's a school, for example, that only has 1 location, they may be, say, a smaller school, but they will have an institution account, and then they will also identify their location underneath of it. So that's something that we are going to do. We've also continued to move forward under the leadership of Haley and Neve in the project around program, and have started to engage with our public sector colleagues about how we're going to make some changes to improve how we collect and then use program information. And we know that this is a big deal. This was our largest strategic priority that we wanted to move forward on. We know there's going to be some fairly significant changes here. And so we're going to continue to have a project team. And so there'll be a number of folks that are probably many of whom are on the call today that'll be part of that project team over the next while as we move forward, and really focusing on what exactly are we going to do differently, really trying to nail that down over the next few months before the fall, so that then we can start to figure out, okay, now we know what we want to do, how are we going to implement this? Again, just remind folks that if you have questions, please throw them in the chat, and we'll get to those after the presentation. So we've also done some, Simon's done some great work around over awards, and really got to a place where we all understood that we can't keep doing what we're doing around over awards. We know we want to make some changes to improve consistency. And so we've got that far. We don't exactly know what we're going to do differently, but we do know that there is a problem and that we are not going to perpetuate some of our current practices. So we'll keep you updated on that. Blaine is also leading 2 mini projects, although I'm not sure how many some of these projects are, but there's 2 projects, and really focusing on the idea that we are really excited to be working with National to be dispersing all of our grants, so that we try to avoid this paper check. And the fact that we've got 2 different things going on and it's confusing for students. So really moving in that direction and starting to figure out how do we make that happen. At the same time, we're also really excited then that we'll be able to keep T4As on our side of the fence. I also mentioned on the slide here that with the decision to disperse our funds through National, we're also continuing to move forward on implementing our policy as it relates to grant to loan conversions. So pretty exciting there. We have also made the decision really clearly that confirmation of enrollment, although there is that functionality on the National computer system, their website, we're not going to focus on that. We are going to build our own confirmation of enrollment, and as well as the interest-free application. So there was some thought that perhaps we use the federal system, but we've decided we're not going to do that. And we've also made a pretty big decision as it relates to confirmation of enrollment. You'll recall that one of our strategic priorities was to align the confirmation of enrollment process. And so we want to make sure that that process is consistent across full-time, part-time, and other programs. And also we know we want it to be adjustable, but at this point we're thinking that we will default to 21 days. For all of the confirmation of enrollment, and that assumes that institutions would be able to see the student application information that's appropriate once the notice of assessment is completed. So big change there. And also another significant change as relates to our strategic opportunity was that we wanted to improve our transparency for students as it relates to tuition remittance. And so we have made some decisions about how we're going to do that. We're going to improve our communications, but we're also going to give students a very narrow window within which they can actually decline what the institution has requested for tuition remittance. And then it's their responsibility to ensure payment of their tuition. So those are some big business decisions that we've made over the last little while. I always struggle as to what to put in this section, but I want to make sure to keep people up to date with some decisions that we've made. And we do that through consultation, obviously, with lots of different folks. And then ultimately it moves through Kelly and the directors to approve those key decisions. So that's the business context that I think is going to be most relevant for our conversation today. If you have other questions or comments, please throw them in the chat and I will pass it back for us to start sharing what it is we've worked on.
Yes, thanks, Elise. I just want to level set the room here. A lot of what Elise has discussed is business decisions that have been happening outside of our current project team bubble. In other words, those decisions haven't hit our team yet. And I just want to remind you of the scope that we were working on just super quick, which was a very small version of basically these two bullets here, but the rest is all very important. It just hasn't hit us yet for as far as solutioning and development.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, actually, next we're going to pass the mic to Lynn, who smashed us through developing this beautiful site map, and it ended up being much more a larger task than we initially anticipated because a lot of us had to get on the same page. But Lynn, I'll let you speak to that.
Thank you, Michelle. First off, hi, everyone. My name is Lynn. If you're not familiar with me yet, I am the third member of our UX crew over here. And today I'll be sharing some of the work that we did in this sprint. I'm going to show you a diagram, nothing too exciting unless you like diagrams, then we can talk more about it later. But what I'll do is kind of lay some foundations and then pass it over to group to kind of show you the wireframe. So a sneak peek of what that looks like based on what I'm going to show you today. So what we worked on for this sprint was a sitemap for the institution portal that looks like that on your screen. I recognize that it is far away right now for us to view, but I just wanted to give you a glance first before I go into the individual sections. So a sitemap, just if you don't know, a sitemap is just a diagram of all the pages within the institution portal from a bird's eye view. So this is helpful to show you the pages that we're designing for the institution portal and the relationship from one page to the next page. So it also answers, how do I get to this page? So that's what a sitemap does. So let me zoom in and I can talk us through what are we seeing on the sitemap here. So at the top level, as an institution user, I'm going to log in with my approved BCeID, and the first page I'm going to land on is what we call an account dashboard. You'll notice that there are branches off to the right, and then a main branch that goes from top down to the location, what we call a location dashboard as well. So let's just talk about the upper half first. So at the top level, all institution users will land here after they log in. That's what they will see. If they have the right permissions or credentials that have been applied to them from the institution, some users may see some of these pages, or they will just go down to the location dashboard. So this is dependent if you have the permissions to go there. So Elise had referred to the owner. So the owner would be sitting on this level and they would see these pages to the right here. So these pages, the owner would see, let's say, manage institution, a way they can manage their institution details. This is like that Sprott Shaw or that umbrella institution details where they can also manage their locations below here, these circles here. With that, we also have decided to kind of work in a pattern for us to view these pages with these smaller branches kind of going in here. We would see some sort of summary view of the locations. And if we click in one of the summary views, we go into the location details. So this is a common pattern we're creating in the sitemap as well throughout. I'll talk about that some more later. But what you can do on this level, on the institution account level, where an owner would sit, they would be able to manage institution, manage users, and also manage your designation. So this is where the legal authorized authority would be sitting. You'll notice that it's in red right now just because that we haven't tackled that yet, but that's soon to come. But we have worked on some of these pages up here. So I'm just going to pause there and just kind of explain again. So from all users will enter here, they can either go into this this section of the pages if they have the permissions. If not, they're just going to continue down to this branch here where it says the location dashboard. You'll notice that we have a few examples of the location dashboard. This is just outlining if my school or my institution has 3 locations, there would be kind of 3 bubbles here. But for now, let's kind of focus on the one location dashboard that we have within the institution there. So you'll notice that this pathway, so going from BCeID to the account dashboard to the location dashboard, that's where most users, institution users, will go for their day-to-day work, such as doing Appendix 3s, and where they can also manage their location. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more to kind of give you a view of that. I hope that is viewable on your end there, but if not, just give me a shout there as well. Awesome. So from the location dashboard, all users land here after navigating to that account dashboard. And what they see in the location dashboard is everything that belongs within that location. What does that mean? That means you can manage your location details. So your website details, your address details. You can manage your programs within this location. You can manage your student applications, and you can also manage your users that are working within this location as well. So it's almost like a contained, if I belong to a location, all this information is contained into one dashboard for me to look at. So this is where our most day-to-day institution users will work within. Now, if they work in multiple locations, they can have access to see multiple locations if the institution has assigned them the permissions to do so in that sense. So this is just an example to show that we can continue adding more locations as needed, as some institutions will have many locations. So, or some institutions will just have one location, which this works as well. So we're looking at flexibility and also scalability in that sense as well for that. So that's the location branches. You'll notice that it does kind of follow the same patterns that we're creating here. So if I'm managing all the programs within the location, I'm going to start to see a program summary and ability to add new programs or program details. So these blue boxes here are just all the pages that we're noting down that we're going to be designing, or we're currently designing, sorry, or going to be designing in the future as well. So with that, that is just the bird's eye view and really an insight into the pages we're currently doing now. Like Michelle said, this is a foundational UX documentation that is now used by the entire project team. This what's kind of turned into a napkin sketch, turned into a multi-purpose document for the entire team. So I think it's really great in that sense that we can all share one document, one understanding, and kind of move forward from that. You'll also notice in the sitemap, we've added some functions that happen within this page. Just to give you an example, I won't talk too much about that, but just we have the view, we have editing, we have below here, we have view, added, and edit for programs. Those are the capabilities we're building in now. So this is going to be really great for the developers to launch off and to understand where we're thinking about the permissions, how the roles are going to work, and what pages we're going to need to do. You'll also notice that there are some green circles. Those green circles are just informing us these are the users that will be able to access, the user types that will be able to access these pages. So also a great overview for the developers as well. So again, a shared documentation to share an outline of the pages that we need for the minimum viable product or MVP, a tool for UX, a tool for developers, and also a tool for managing what we will be working on next. So it was all, it all was a great solution at the end there. So
yeah, 100%. Thank you so much, Lynn, for that awesome explanation. So yeah, we started this as a UX UI task of just kind of getting what are our pages, and then it turned into major technical feasibility functionality discussion as well. So we had all the heads on this one. Thank you very much. Some good comments coming in that I've made sure to capture when we get to that part of our chat. Ruth, we're moving over to your section where you are showing us how some of those break down into wireframes.
Yeah, so looking at that great site diagram there, what you'll notice is at the top, we begin with the overall kind of institution management, and then we kind of dig deeper into location-based management. So things like programs and students and users, things like that. So what I wanted to show you guys right now is let's take a look at that top part of the diagram, which is the institution management part of it. So let me just pop open and share my screen here. Okay, so what we're looking at is a prototype of the location summary, managing the locations for this institution. So in this case, we're looking at Interban here. And so what we'll see is you'll click on institution management in the top nav, and then you'll go down into the manage location section. So here you're going to see a list of your locations with a bit of key information such as the location address and the primary contact that's been assigned for this location. And so, yeah, what does that mean? Let's go in and edit one, just as an example. So when you're going to go in and edit it, you can see that, you see all the information you saw on that summary view, and you can change, say, the primary contact. So one thing I wanted to note here is when you're looking at this, you're like, why are those sections blurry here and there? It's functionality that we know needs to live here. So in this case, this is the designation status of this particular location, but it's not, it's not happening next sprint. So we want to hide that from our developers, giving them some context that it's coming, but we don't want them to focus on that. They want them to just focus on what's going to be there. So if I were to go ahead and save this, you'll see now that the location has been updated with that little green text there, and all those changes you've made will be updated here. So that's just kind of what that site diagram, architecture diagram, whatever the heck we're calling it today, that thing, is how it relates back into our work. And so what it easily does is we're also using that as a base for the nomenclature we're creating around all the sections within the application. So this idea of manage, summary pages, editing, viewing, we're reusing all of that terminology across all the pages, so there's consistency as we move forward and have that shared understanding together. That's all I wanted to share today. Any questions? Save it till the end. Never mind. Okay, talk soon.
Thank you, Ruth. I'm going to take the screen back. Well, I don't really need to. You're following along. I'm going to actually pass it over to Schwenker, who's going to be talking about CRA integration. And then Signori is going to walk us through some of its findings around Equifax integration. Go ahead, Schwenker.
Hey, everyone. So as mentioned sort of at the beginning of this, on the technical side, we started some very heavy lifting with two of our integration partners, which is CRA and Equifax. So part of what we were trying to do this time is determine how we're going to integrate with the partners and establish sort of basically a baseline setting to be able to get to next steps. And what we've come up with, well, actually, just first of all, so with CRA is for income verification and SIN validation. SIN validation currently is being done with our ESDC friends, but we're moving it to CRA, and basically what that means is faster SIN validations. CRA is able to process more files per day and be able to get us responses back and answers back quicker. Part of the complexities that we also had is, as everyone's aware of, we are currently sending stuff to those partners right now. So from the technical side of things, changing some of the integrations and stuff with our partners is sometimes just as difficult, sometimes more, sometimes less than even on the business side, just because there's a lot of complexities and yeah, they can just be very complex and difficult to move. So part of what we wanted to do is not interrupt any of the current working systems like SFAS sending things to CRA, ESDC, and those partners, and basically either integrate us with it or run in parallel. So through this, we basically determined that it makes a lot more sense, especially with CRA right now, to basically integrate with the current process that is sending files to and from CRA. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen here. It's might look a little overwhelming for non-technical folks, but I'll just share one little part, and then feel free if you like to dive in a little deeper. So this diagram here, if everyone's able to see it, is our, again, draft architecture. It's likely to change This is posted in our GitHub repo on the front page, so feel free to go take a look yourself if you want. But basically, snapshot is this stuff here on the left is currently already working with SFAST, sending files to and from CRA. This middle section is all the new stuff that we're building in OpenShift. And all we're doing is doing this line here. I don't know if you can really see my mouse, but basically we are doing this line here to get to this server to basically integrate with these systems that are currently running. So that's what we got to for the CRA integration. What we've also been able to do this sprint is, is we were just testing some basic like file creations and make sure that that service that's basically working for us with CRA is working. And we actually started sending some tests and validation files back and forth to determine whether or not we're really actually ready to even use that service, because the files work a little differently. And technical jargon aside, we have to build it a little differently, just some different file layouts and codes, and make sure that we can actually use that service from CRA. So that's CRA there. Long story short, what it means, faster than SIM validations. Equifax. I'm going to talk to Equifax a little bit here just because we can't demo too much at this current point, just because it's the sort of prerequisites that we did are very fundamental, and there is some information there that it's just not the final process yet, so it doesn't look pretty at all. So I'm just going to sort of talk with my hands for a second. So Equifax, as everyone knows, is credit checks. Credit checks, I believe it's over 22. We do credit checks on people. Currently, with the current implementation, I believe it's file-based, and with Equifax, they've come out with a new service last year. I believe it's currently working in production, but they're basically development pathway. They've created one to basically allow new teams to be onboarded to dynamic checks, basically. So we can basically just ask them dynamically whenever we want, hey, this person, how's their credit? Sort of like what you do at a bank or anywhere, and they do a quick like on the fly credit check with Equifax. It's sort of like the same thing that we'll be able to do. So what we've started doing is, what we actually did manage to do is get connected to their test environment, get our credentials, and get sort of the baseline connectivity established to be able to access their systems. Our next step for that, obviously, so it's just a manual call right now. It's not integrated with our systems. It's just basic connectivity. Next steps is going to be confirming what we have to do with that, because how we get data back, we have to process a little differently and integrate with our systems. So long story short, again, what that means, faster credit checks.
So faster SIN checks, faster credit checks.
Correct.
Yeah. And although I'm somewhat stealing a question that's out of the chat, it also means that we won't be doing SIN checks for every application. So that also reduces that time for students as well. We'll be able to do a SIN check at the beginning when the account is set up. And then, of course, if there were to be a change in the SIN, then do it again. But that's great.
Awesome.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
No problem.
Andrew Signori, did you have anything you wanted to add there?
No, you're good, Michelle. That is
awesome.
Good.
Okay, good job. And Schwenker, you're good?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to move us over. Pushan has done some development work for us, even though we're doing all that detailed integration analysis. Thank you, Pushan. Would you like to share?
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay, so basically this sprint we just trying to develop a few features here. One is if user want to update their information, we currently institution user currently we have only one single user in our system. So if that user can go and update the institution profile as well as some of his own information in our system, how we can do that. So we just developed that feature. So I'll go to our dev environment, the institution profile page, and I'll log in with the BCeID. We have one test BCeID, and that was a business BCeID. Now, if anybody using our system can see there is a new button called institution profile in our navigation bar. So you can now redirect to the institution profile page. You can see these informations are all the information we created. These are all the dummy information. So this information was inputted when we create the account. So this all information is coming, and this three information is coming from the business BCeID. So the first name, last name, and the legal operating name. So you cannot change this information. So if you want to change the information, you have to go to BCeID site, and you have to change from there. Other information, any of information, like you add a new address like XYZ. Currently we don't have much data validation over here. Anything, and consider my email address, email dev. So I'm want to update these things, few of this field, and if I submit this, and it will be submitted, and it show you the information is successfully submitted. And then if you come back, you'll see this information is reflected in the system. Yeah, that's it. This is the story. And another story is, if you logs out from the system, so it will redirect you the our profile page, login page for the institution. And if you go to login, it will again redirect you to the business. Currently it is a test environment, so it will redirect you to the BCeID page. If you remember, in our last demos, the logout is not working properly because there is some defect was there. So currently we fix that. Now it's truly a logout. So previously we have to close, to truly log out, we have to close the window and restart again, but now you don't have to do that. So we resolved that issue. Now you can now if you try with the any consider this, I have a test, one test normal account, not a business one. So if you use that particular account, and if you
You mean
trying
if
to log
you
in,
use a basic BCeID, you mean?
basic BCeID,
Yeah.
not non-business BCeID. So system will trying to verify you in the beginning of the application login process. And once they recognize you don't have a business BCeID, you will redirect you in the login page with this message. And again the logout is successfully, you can go back and you can check you successfully log out. Now you can freshly log in with your business BCeID. Yeah, that's it. That's it from
Awesome.
this sprint. Yeah.
Awesome, Prashant. Thank you. I saw some applause there. I think that's a big win. I'll just reshare my screen. So one of the things that we tried to get to that's almost done that you'll see next week is what happens when a user updates their profile information at Business BCeID. So how does that information carry over to our system automagically? I got that word from Mark
Michelle,
Lucas, who I see is on the
Michelle,
call.
that is also done because I can demo it.
Oh, hot off
yeah.
the press. Let's
So
do
yeah,
it.
okay, let me do that because it's just freshly deployed. So we have to go to the test. Currently we are using the BCeID.ca. So if we
You're not showing your screen, Pushan.
Okay, 1 minute. Sorry, 1 minute.
Okay.
First of all, get me the right address. 1 minute. Sorry. I'm sharing my screen again. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so yeah, this is currently we're using the test test BCeID to all our testing and development purpose. So this is a test BCeID site. You can go and log in to manage your account. And I have to use our test account over here. So currently we only change the user first name, last name, and currently the whatever the user email address we are normally using, because that was used in our system email address. So in the system you can change, so it will not reflect on our system. So the only thing you can like SIMS 123. I'm just update my surname here and I save it. Now let me try to relog in. Using my same business BCeID.
Your notes are so organized, Pushan.
Sorry?
Your notes are so organized.
Yeah, it's a developer thing. Otherwise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, after login. So if you go to the institution profile, you can see this particular piece is reflected over here, because that the information we can change. And yeah, that is the story. So we are storing that information. We are syncing your recent information in our system continuously when you are login back in our system. Yeah, that is the another story. Yeah.
Nice work, Pushan. You pulled that one in the last
Yeah.
minute there. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna take back the screen. So I just added Zoe updates business BCeID information, and it is updated on our system. Thank you. Okay, so over to you, Elise, for some goals for next sprint.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. I did want to add, and I forgot to mention this last time, and I even forgot to mention at the beginning. I wanted to just do a quick loop back, because a couple of sprint demos ago, we committed to showing you a demo of what it's like for an institution user to create and set up their business BCeID. And we haven't done that. And so we know we haven't done that. We're working with BCeID, and we've been making some business decisions around that. But I just wanted to flag for you that at this point in time, I don't think we're going to be developing a demo for you around that. It just is not something that we have the capacity to do right now. So just wanted to bring that back for you. So if you're interested in finding out more about business BCeID, there's some really great information on the BCeID website. And it really talks about what's the right type of BCeID under what circumstance and those kinds of things. So just wanted to loop back and follow up with folks on that. So going forward, sprint 8, what are we going to be doing? So we are going to, now that we know what is the form solution, this technical infrastructure that we're going to use, we're going to continue to work on building it and figuring out where we need to use it, how we're going to use it in order to meet our business needs. We are going to continue working on the Equifax piece, the credit screening integration, so that we get that sorted out. From a UX UI perspective, we're going to be focusing on creating those what we call wireframes, or a bit of a mock-up view of how we're managing designation, as well as how we are managing users and their access profiles. And of course, continuing to do some work on the education program as we figure out how do we need to collect that information in our new way so that we can have that reflected on the list for students. So we'll be working on that. Some folks may recall that over the month of March, we had a pop-up survey on our website asking students a couple of questions. And so we're going to present to you the results of that survey and that analysis. And the purpose behind that is we're trying to gather some qualitative baseline data that we'll be able to compare student experience to for when we go live with changes. So we'll share that with you next time. And we're also going to show you in the development system how institution users will be adding locations. So what we showed you today was a little bit of a wireframe, but those are pictures. And now the dev team's going to go away and actually build it in the environment. So we'll be able to show it to you in the environment. So that's what we're going to be focusing on for Sprint 8. A lot of continued focus on the institution account, and that's because we're getting that infrastructure in place behind the scenes so that we can start to pivot again and do some more work on the actual student application in the coming sprints. So that's what's going on there. Maybe just questions, thoughts that have come up. Just want to make sure that we've tackled different questions and answers. So please add your questions or comments in the chat. Let's go back a couple of things. So there was some questions early on about the ability to add programs through the account, the institution account, and whether that was happening at the institution account level or at the location level. And our plan is for it to be happening at the location level, but we also want to add the ability to copy, for lack of a better word, that program across multiple locations. So for example, Sprott-Shaw might be delivering a business administration program and they want to deliver it at the Langley and the Kelowna location, and so copying it. That's what was the discussion going on there. Sorry, my eyes are getting good. BC privates, yeah, so institutions often provide us on their PED telling us whether this program is at one or multiple locations. And so the great thing about this is, of course, the institutions will be entering their own, using self-service, their own program information, and they will then quickly be able to ensure that that program information is spread across multiple locations. Another one of the questions that relates to that as well was also about, are we making sure that we're factoring in that every location needs to meet the designation requirements, which also includes having one eligible program? And so, yes, we are absolutely factoring that in, and that's where we plan on doing as much as possible, kind of mimicking that first setup of the institution account, so that each institution can be assessed, each location can be assessed to determine if designation can be extended to that institution. Neve, I'm seeing your comment there. I just want to make sure we're responding to that. Oops. I hit the wrong button, so now I've moved away from it. Each time they change program information at a location, will they have to copy it across multiple locations? So I guess the question is, for example, if they have a program such as a business administration diploma that they're offering at 2 locations, If they want to change that program, then yeah, we'll have to think about how do we manage that, because it's been copied. So now there's 2 different records, but it's still one program. So we'll have to figure that out. If they decide to offer it over 6 months instead of 9 or something like that. So don't know the answer to that one just yet. Then there's a question or a discussion about when is the SIN check happening? Is it happening at the account creation or the submission of the application? I believe, and I hope I'm right, Andrew, please tell me if I'm wrong, that it's happening at the account creation. And so we're doing it that one time when things are set up.
Yeah, it's not implemented yet, but that's the idea.
Right. Yeah, that's the goal. We haven't been able to show you that. That's what we've been doing all this work on so that we can build it. So then it speaks to another question which came up as it relates to parents and spouses, whether or not we'll be able to use it for them. That's something that we're still sorting out. The parents and spouses, how they're going to access the system and provide their information. Particularly if they don't have a BC services card. That is something that we're looking at and working closely with our privacy folks, because we need to sort that out and make sure that whatever access they have and information they provide is compliant with privacy. So don't know the answer to that one just yet.
Elise, we have a question on the phone from Phil Frias.
Great, thanks, Phil.
Hi, Elise. Just wanted to kind of go back to the program and moving it across, like when you report it at the location level and then want to go to different location. Currently, the way our system is set up is that if a user is set up as a portal profile at the legal account level, they then have access to all the locations below it. But yes, when you get to the granular location level, there could be users or profiles that only pertain to specific locations. So when they enter that program information at that location, they may not, or the legal authority may not want them to have access to speak on behalf of other locations, that they're specifically only supposed to have access to that one location. So I guess my question is that ability to say, yeah, this program's offered at another location, does it reside with a little bit of a higher profile or access level?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that just yet. We'll have to figure that out. Absolutely, the ability for some users to have access across multiple locations and for some users to only access an individual location. Absolutely, that's part of the plan. But the idea then of will the copy to another location be available to you? We can certainly talk about what's the right way of managing that. Have to think about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm just looking back. So there was a comment about that the SIN check is now only done once, but the credit check is done for each application if you're under 22, I believe is the magic number. Okay.
Over 22.
Over 22. Thank you. Yes, I said that. Yeah.
Are we paying for each credit check?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so. It's a pay per service. Yeah.
Because I think,
and that's a federal government requirement around that. So that's I'm not aware that that policy is going to change at this point in time.
no, but I think that we're only required to do it for a first-time borrower. So if we're paying for every application, that might be we're spending money we don't need to.
Yeah, there's definitely some rules around when to apply for a credit check, and you're absolutely right, Terry. We don't have to do it every time. It's only done for those applicants that are over 22 and it's their first application. So hopefully we're not doing it for every subsequent application because we don't need to be. Yeah, it's a good point.
At least there's a follow-up comment from Neve back to what, in reference to what Phil was raising. If you want, it's just at the end of the thread there. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay. Is this be a similar concern regarding access to changing information? Yeah, the whole conversation about system access is definitely one that we're sorting through. We've been using the approach as per our strategic opportunities to have broad profile, function-based access for users. So as much as possible, we're trying to keep it simple, and that standards of conduct will be what will stop users from behaving certain way instead of having hard edges. So that's our plan at this point. Specifically, the concern came up around we don't necessarily want all users to be entering program information because sometimes, or making changes to programs because that causes problems. And I think that's similar, Phil, to what you're saying as well, but if they don't have the authority. So we need to figure out how do we help the institutions manage that a little bit? How do they make sure that if their users can do something, doesn't mean they should be? So how do we manage that without putting a whole bunch of hard edges on our profiles, because that's not the plan. We don't plan on doing that. So we'll have to probably provide better training, more clarity around that, and to monitor some of those areas.
Anyone who's not on speaking, could you kindly mute? Thank you.
To be honest, I think it's probably me because my son has decided that now is the time. Now, while I'm in a meeting, not going to happen. Sorry for those that have kids, so my apologies.
Just calling all the pots and pans out of the...
that would be mine.
Oh,
yeah,
no, wait, he'll start running the blender too.
Yes, yeah, it's almost smoothie time, isn't it?
Not.
No, there Sorry.
There is
No.
60 people on the line.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so if a user updated the legal name of an institution in BCeID, would it update in the system? Yeah, and I think there's a really good example of something that Pushan was showing. So he showed the institution user updating their name, and I guess my question would be if the institution itself had been updated in BCeID by an approved person in BCeID, then is that reflected in our system? Yes, I believe so. Andrew?
Currently, I can't recall off the top of my head, but it's something we could definitely do if it's not already. We haven't hit that requirement yet because we don't have a way of changing names, at least in test right now.
Yeah, okay. So let's make a note of that one. We need to follow up and see what happens with that. Good question. Thank you. I think I've answered the question about the CRN for parent and spouse because it depends on if they are not coming in through the BC services card door, if that is decided. Then how are they validated? If they are coming in through the BC services card door, then I believe we would be able to do the SIN validation. I think we've covered off the credit check now for whatever the policy rules around credit checks. I believe, and someone can correct me, but I believe you have to be over 22 and your first application is when we check your credit. We don't check it every time after that.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Users.
I think that's it. Did we miss? I feel like we've covered because a lot of the questions were samey. Did we miss anything that somebody really wanted us to hit?
Yeah. Yeah, and so what you've seen this sprint and last sprint is a lot of behind the scenes stuff. We're at that stage where we've got to put in the plumbing and that kind of stuff. So looking forward to sharing more with you in the next sprint about the users and more functionality in that institution account. We showed you some screens today, but they're static. They're not functional yet. So we'll be building some of those things.
Awesome. Anything else, guys? Comments, questions, concerns, jokes?
Okay.
No jokes?
Well, hopefully boring is good, and we just continue to move forward, and we look forward to sharing with you in another 2 weeks. We do have our business check-in next Wednesday. Last Wednesday, we were fortunate enough to, after some technical problems, the lab came and shared an Agile 101 with us. One of the things they talked about was the theme and an epic and a feature. And so next week, we're going to show you a bit more about how do we organize our business in that Agile structure. So, so we'll be talking more about that next Wednesday for those that want to join us.
Awesome. Thanks very much, everyone.
Okay, there is one joke. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay, so do you knock before, where is it? Do you knock before opening the fridge? I don't know. Tell us. I don't know. Yes? No? Maybe
I'm going to say no.
No. What's
Ready for the answer.
What if there's
wow.
a sound? Like, oh, God. Okay. So the answer is yes. Okay.
Don't want to bust that naked salad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.